what will be a functional definition of performance art in our time in India?
It does not offer. Not in India, but anywhere the performance art does not offer a clear definition. I said, you see, one of the most learning experiences or understandings of what is subjectivity. Subjectivity is basically confusion or something which is not clear. You know, when a situation comes, let us say we have this river in the background, right? So at one level we know this river is a static definition of river, but the river can never be static. You know, it is similar wise when we want to work out a definition for something which is always running like a river. And the river, not only the river has ups and downs, it has floods and it has all the things in it, but it has become toxic also at the same time. Toxic in a very literal way and also in a metaphoric way. The life in general has become really very toxic. Now, at what point of time we can provide a definition of the river? Now, most of the rivers are now drying up because number one, of course, the humanity has surrounded a layer, almost hijacked the river. We have lifted entire water into our tap rivers. So there is a term called river. But can we say the Yamuna in Delhi is a river? It's a nala. So in every context, now whether Hooghly or any other river, still stands as a river. But all the rivers are not the same kind of rivers. They may be simply only names. And definitely in future, most of the rivers will remain only names, and the water will be actually stolen by the humanity or the human beings or settlements around it in a very larger sense. So at that time we still may have a name called river, or whether they are sacred or whatever. But that definition will be leaky even if we provide a definition, but it doesn't actually help us to understand the river, the nature of river. The river is a repository or a composite layered thing even within the river. Let us say the speed of the water at the bottom is very different, which is not visible on the surface. The speed of the layer at the surface or in the middle is different than what is in the bottom. And what is at the bottom we don't know. So in a broader term, the river is this, something which has two banks and the river is flowing down. But that is a very inadequate definition of river. So likewise we have a term called performance art. Let us say it's a river. In the different geographical zones, landscapes, and every body has kind of a river-like flow within, which is carrying all the kind of toxic material and the organic material also at the same time. But at which depth, what is happening, and at which surface, what is the speed in a particular date or time, we cannot say. So the definition can definitely not be provided in a very easiest manner. It definitely hints towards a complexity of the problematic zones which are basically now pregnant because art has been exposed to different directions, different tendencies, and different kind of influences have crisscrossed the approach to art at a various levels. So it has changed quite radically in the past couple of decades. So it will not be easy to provide a definition.
We were also talking about your work, and I can see your finger.
Yeah.
Because you have chopped off your finger for a river. So if you can just talk to me about that performance of yours, because
I will give you a little background about that since now we are in the river, and I was those days shuffling between in Delhi from east to the Connaught place for my job work, but every day I had to cross a dead river. So it was kind of a those days the feelings were that how come there can be a river, something dead river, because it was declared, because I didn't have any experience in Kashmir about what is dead river, but then first time I heard this is the dead river, the river is dead. So how to basically create kind of a personal and a profound relationship with the dead river, because we finally are going to die. But the personal understanding that how we connect to the dead river and feel still crossing the river daily. So that at a particular point, I would then cross the river and I would see that it is this place where a little piece of my body is still there, and it is with the dead, the dialogue with the dead. So I titled, because there's a power plant nearby, so I titled the performance that time, Dialogue with a Power Plant Shrill Across the Dead River. So that was a title to the performance. But now that is one layer of understanding that I created my level. But when you look at the body again and again, and after many years, when I looked back suddenly to my fingers, and I just lifted my finger like this, and I just made a kind of auto portrait from my hand on my face. So I titled it, I Had to Amputate to See. You have to basically surrender something, or readily announce the disassociation of a particular favorite part of your body or your property to see. Actually, that's actually, if you go in a very serious manner, that even the earlier times, even Buddha, let's say, renounced the entire kingdom to see. Actually, that's actually he wanted to see the. So this is a very, very humble and little effort in the direction to actually intensify the understanding of body in relationship to what is river. So of course, definitely the river as a body and a literal river, and to connecting the part of a body with the death with the dead, and the life with the life. That's actually now that is the sustaining equation. So connecting the dead has actually given me a new understanding of life, even fresh understanding of what is life actually.
Could you please tell me the title of that performance?
Which one?
The river one.
I just told you.
Yeah.
Dialogue with Power Plant Shrill Across the Dead River.
So my next question will be like, right from such kind of extreme body art to posters to flyers and other things that you give out, how did you see the performance art segment changing or getting any definite shape? Because if you think of Puja Sood's Coach presentation, Coach 10 years, they tried to bring performance art to the city. I mean, I'm not talking about Coach or something. I'm just saying that generally, like even now, there is a renewed attention. So if you can talk about evolution of your work and what you see as a trend in the country.
Yeah, so definitely, Coach is not an instrumental agency to bring performance art, definitely not. But at that time, I see the space was very vacant, and things were at a very experimental stage. So people were trying on their own so many things. So that definitely was a helping thing. But I'm telling you how performance art as a language has developed in India, which was a very repeated question which you are asking. That I started my first exhibition in 96-97 as a painting exhibition, right? Painting and some constructions. And that time there definitely was nothing. The market had actually come to a point where nothing was actually. Hussain was selling at that time around 1 lakh rupees. Imagine. So there was no hope for a self-taught artist who would come from Kashmir to Delhi and make an exhibition and think he would sell a painting. That was really an impossible equation. But I still made one attempt, and definitely I miserably failed in that. But the second moment, because everything was expensive, the art material was very expensive, so I couldn't buy anything. So that actually landed me in photography, but even photography was very expensive, which actually, then I switched over to performance art. But by the time I switched to performance art, it was already going through some certain crisis. Of course, the news arrived late because, in the West, the things must have come to a point much earlier, but the news has come very late here. But by just somehow, it is not great to say that the people who went abroad at that time in 47 also didn't have the guts to see that the Dadas were actually have already hit the scene much ago, but then the artists who went there, they didn't carry forward those seeds back to India. So they most have somehow started doing the derivative art of the Picassos and all that. That's what we have this money derivative art what we see. But anyway, no complaints or no regrets about that. But what I am saying is that even the idea of photography has come to India very, very late. Photography as an art form has been very late. It is very, I think simultaneously the performance art and photography, they were simultaneously being recognized as art forms in India. Before that, there was actually no courage in any art institution or a gallery or a curator or anybody or his art historian even, worth a name, to say that look, photography is also an art form or performance at the tail of it. So performance at the tail of the photography and the videography has actually, you can't really amputate it like an umbilical cord. It will be always like a relationship there. So performance will be there in some form or the other form, because performance art is kind of a bridge between different disciplines. It can be a bridge between poetry and poetry, theater and performance art, painting and performance art, video art and performance art, sound art and performance art. So the performance art is basically doesn't have its own entity as a very institutionalized. The way painting has a proud institution of thousands of years. One can go back to any period and locate the performance art as a documented or archived object. But in performance art, it doesn't have. But at what point of time we can say as a human being we were not doing performance? Let us say, I'm not a favorite of Gandhi, but even the Gandhi's salt performance, was a wonderful performance. The Salt March was a Dandi March was a wonderful performance where the symbolic pinch of salt lifted from the. It was really a political performance, and I have a huge, admiration for the performance. But definitely, this performance has actually helped us to understand even the political at a very nuanced manner. But not to stop at Gandhi's performance. What I am thinking is that we now have activist performance or a protest performance where we have to basically think and again think about what is protest even. Because we have some power structure, we have a higher power structures there. Police is there, government is there, we have law there, and we have this police there, and this is circulating. But as the Deleuze actually teaches us that we can actually bring down this power structure to analyze who we are and what is happening at a very complex and at a very deeper level in the body. That way, it is not how that we abandon the grand narrative of the power structure, to confront the power. Let us say police has a gun and we pick up a gun and just outwit the power structure. No, I think we have to basically discover more and more power structures which are functional at a molecular level. That is why the performance art can be debated at a very detailed manner. So the way we boil down our pursuits are to know what is art and performance art, we have to discover also the potential of how much we can do at a molecular level, because the power structure at a deeper profound is quite dispersed. In a visible form, we can see the state and the anti-state forces. The police is there. There's a guard. There's a police is there. There's a very clear power structures there, hierarchies. So instead of confronting those structures, we have to basically kind of listen to the echoes of the body, which are actually functional at a very nuanced level. That's how we can even think about the environmental crisis, which actually Deleuze and Guattari is talking about. How we can blend. He is talking about these three arts, that mental, environmental and social. These three in a very synced manner can give us an idea of how to penetrate a little deeper into the idea of the power structure embedded at a molecular level, rather than going and just looking what is happening at a very big. That's why the idea of protest also can change, because right now if something is happening, we think the protest can be done only by the similar kind of a slogan or a similar kind of an instrument. Let us say there's a gun with a state which is occupying a particular territory, then we think that the gun can outwit the gun only. But I'm afraid that the performance art doesn't offer such a definition to support that kind of a theory. So in performance art, we have to basically, enrich the vocabulary of the protest to understand that the mere slogans and mere writing some walls or just screaming on the streets is not sufficient to understand the performance art. That the protest body itself has actually to not been, the potential of that has not been tapped as yet. So that is how the performance art can help us to grow further, right?
So then your art practice, how did it evolve in, like, I understand that you know why you chose performance art, you said it, but like your works, like right in the beginning you did Unknown Brother, Unknown Sister,
Okay.
then you did that Aman, the work I
Yeah, we did
have,
that, yeah.
then you did Chashma,
Yeah, there are
I
a
not
lot of
like you know one green, one red. Then I think in 2006, 2007, you also worked with this shit and some other elements which were completely absent in Indian performance art scene or
Yeah.
Indian art scene in general.
Right.
So
I
now
think
my
I think that each work, there are huge works and there are line of long things which, and every work demanded some note. So it needs a proper huge session, and I think that to debate work by work. But in general, I will say that the elements like the shit work, which was about the homeless people who were just littering the this press road in Delhi, and I just lifted a specimen from that, and I just added in a formaldehyde solution, and labeled it as a shit of the other. As a specimen in the laboratory of art, the way we study some animal or some plant in the laboratory. Similarly, what is this specimen shit of the other doing in the art? So the shit of other basically is kind of a, not as a representation thing, but as a subject there to study what is other, what is the shit of the other. So I have done connected works to that, but I will not go into detail. But the question is that to go any area, let us say I did this green and red specs about a legendary saint Sarmat Shahid, who was beheaded by the Aurangzeb after the fall of his father Shah Jahan. So now to understand this saint, it is not basically mere. I'm not kind of a worshipper, but to understand the power of a person who was such a naked saint that even the Shah Jahan had offered him. It is said that he has been invited by the king Shah Jahan as a naked saint in the darbar. Imagine the power of a person. The king will allow a naked person to enter darbar. Imagine that what popularity and what power he must have been having that time. So such a person, when he is beheaded, and definitely it has been held by the memory of the following generations. And the small booklet which is actually sold at the counter in Old Delhi, definitely and correctly speaks about, because the Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad has done a very archival research on that. That is really wonderful work by Azad, really a lohar ka ek hathoda jise bolte hain. And he has dug into the archive of that time, and he has found that Sarmat was basically in love with a boy called Abhay Chand. Sarmat himself had travelled as a trader from Iran to Lahore. Then from Lahore he went to Delhi as a naked saint, and then he was beheaded by the king. So that's a towering research work done by Azad. But now the question is how to understand this, and because this saint refused to utter Quran after the first beginning alphabets, La ilah. He didn't say the second part. But then in the negation of the determination of God, that in itself, because only in death one can say that there is a God. It is such a huge work in the understanding of Islam also. But only a shallow-minded will say that he was a heretic or an kind of. But you can see the monumental presence of the saint definitely has inspired me to do something. And there is one more artist from Orith, from Israel. She also did one work on her, because I was basically influenced by that work, which indeed happened at Khoj. And so after that I took up the booklet and I just read it. Then I read, and the amazing poetry, which was actually mostly was destroyed by the king afterwards, but still something has survived, and the poetry is comparable to any Rumi or Kabir or Mira. That is as a really towering poetry. So it is I think a small step to understand a personality in terms of understanding the city called Delhi. So if we are in Delhi, what is Delhi? Delhi must be this saint, Delhi must be this monument, Delhi must be this dead Bauli, Delhi must be metro even, Delhi must be the people who are making small shanties on the roadsides, people must be, Delhi must be everything about it. So to understand the architecture of the city, one has to understand different locations of it. So these intimacies actually help you to understand that you are living in a city. It's not nothing big. You cannot actually say that I have done something big performance as compared to what the saint has done. But to develop some intimacy with the shrine, this is a one smaller step to know that I do exist in a city called Delhi. This is how we understand the different, whether shit thing or the saint thing, or there are so many other, even the poster thing also, to sticking the poster. Actually, when you stick a poster, your own self-portrait on the back of the bus, it goes everywhere. So besides carrying the political message of Inder Salim, but it does actually, metaphorically, without going into the ride, I just run behind the bus, the way in the children which hang around behind the buses. So now when you grow up, so this is how you actually hang yourself behind a bus, and then your poster carries you everywhere. So the playfulness of that poster sticking behind the bus is also very, very interesting. Besides the political layering of it, whether, for example, I have done the Binayak Sen performance, right? When I don't know whether you were there that time. You were there actually. So the Binayak Sen performance at one level is definitely a political performance. When Binayak Sen was arrested, and very, very luckily, after a couple of days, he was released by the prison because there were no charges against him. But if you really see the performance in a very serious manner, it was about art. Besides being a very tightly controlled political performance when I was in a cage and everything there. Yeah. But you can see it was again how to understand a drawing. I had an easel, I had charcoal, I had paper. I was doing something with my head, simply a drawing on the page. So at one level, it was basically the going in the fundamentals of art, and at a second layer, it was a very explicitly controlled delivery of a political performance, right? So the performance art actually operates at multiple layers. That's what I'm saying. We should not reduce like a river. We cannot reduce to a definition, but it does offer multiple meanings at multiple times, and one can keep on adding and we can be doing. I'm definitely sure the way we're facing the crisis, there will be more interesting performances in the coming days because the body is basically the target.
Then why in Indian media, whenever there is Inder Salim's name, they also think of art actionism, activism,
yes,
and your association with Arundhati Roy or
Rahul and all that, all of course.
People who often have sedition charges against them, and you go and you do a performance on Stone Pelter in Kashmir.
Yeah. Not in Jantar Mantar.
Huh?
Jantar Mantar.
But stand in Kashmir means in the context of Kashmir.
I tell you again the double layering of the performance. The stone pelting performance happened at two times. One at the Jantar Mantar outside, and the same repetition of it at the LTG, little theatre gallery at the Mandi House, right? Now look, when you do a performance, what is now inside and outside, what is happening inside outside if you do the same performance? Number one. Second thing, how it changed. So the first thing, when the protesters came from Kashmir, so in solidarity with them, I simply picked up casually a poster which had a slogan, I protest. I made it into a ball and just posed with this handkerchief on my face, which is actually on YouTube, somebody has uploaded. I posed it as a stone pelter. Now, number one, there was a wrong reading in that. Now, number one, the real thing is happening. The people who are throwing stones, and I'm only imitating it. I'm only actually appropriating the actual action. This is actually a problematic definition because when we say protest, that is how we cannot reduce protest only to stone pelting or to shooting guns. No. So if we think of the protest in a serious manner, every other person is a poem or an essay or an article or a stand or a solidarity. Everything contributes to the making of a protest. So there should not be a hierarchy of the protesting people. The stone pelter instructor is a very strong protester, and those who are making a theatre out of it are less than that. That is one area of definition, right? Second is that when I repeated at the LTG Gary, when the sedition charges were leveled against 6 people, I think, including Shuddha also, question was that it was actually Shuddha who actually told me to repeat it there. And then when I repeated there, now it created second layer, what we in theatre, in performance art, we say a double burial, when we actually retrieve the bones of the dead from the grave and just paint them again and bury it again, but everything changed by then. So the repetition of that performance in Mandi House, in inside gallery, where the people actually stood similar way, the way they did in the Jantar Mantar, but by that time it changed, because it would not be meaningful if I would not have done it outside. So the outside inside linkage and the linking up in this performance was really brilliant. The other performance which I did was the APSPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Again is that was actually happening the first time when the Northeast people actually invited me through Rahul Rai that we are doing something in APSPA, because APSPA has actually created numerous victims both in the Northeast and in Kashmir. So I posed as a dead body where the text APSPA was running through a signboard, this LED signboard. But I found a man there from Northeast. I gave him a list of the names, and he mixed randomly the victims' names from Northeast and Srinagar and Kashmir. Then he simply read out the names. So in one sense it was a collaborative work, because I had to be mute all the time playing the dead, and very disturbingly the parents of some of the parents for the Northeast, they were there, and it was really a very disturbing situation, because they had then the tears was rolling down from cheeks. It was the performance created a very disturbing situation, because it revived the memory of the victims who were killed the way. This is why at one level it is a activist performance, but you can see at other level it was through this attempt that I could link up the two kind of victims who are at the two ends of the country, right? So this can happen only through art. This is not about appropriation of the actions which are happening on the ground actually. So the art is actually doing something very serious thing to understand who we are, rather than undermining the efforts elsewhere. That's why the performance art must be very doing something very interesting at a very deeper level, but in a very nuanced manner. So of course then, okay, you can be understood only as a activist or in a protesting artist, or I have done just couple of nude performances, then people say that Inder Salim is only a nude artist. So, but then that is not the question. The question is that the performance art can shuffle from material to material, to subject, to discipline to discipline, then create, go anywhere, the text and the video, or theatre, or mimicking, or silences, or on the street, or inside or outside, and nothing actually stops you from going anywhere actually.
In fact, Parapur nudity, I have a question. See, the thing is, we remember Manipuri women,
raped by
like staging a nude protest that became a very big news. And then we also see often your nude protests. Now, and you also at times, tend to have, I remember you once held your
I was there, yes,
the
surgical thing.
With a thread, and I had to go and cut it. You remember?
Yeah, of course.
See, the thing is, why such body or nudity? Why such things keep on coming back to your works often? Do you just use them as a shock element, or is it a means to an end, or see, there has been we had a nude sense. You said, Sarma, you also did a performance in CSDS. So my question is, hello. My question is, if you can just talk about nudity, how you treat this subject.
Number one, as I said that I have done just few performances. They're not all, but the reputation is that Inder Salim is a nude artist. It's not. The thing is that in performance art there is a mental readiness. There should be a mental readiness to touch any kind of an idea, whether it is nude, or whether it is shit or blood or any other thing. Because the more and more we don't play with the representation in art, representation kind of art, the more and more it is better for the artist. So we just not kind of something is suffering, somebody play some representation part. You're basically creating your own. You're just stepping in with yourself. So whether it is now just slashing my fingertips while I'm writing on the sheet of paper, India, bullet is on your hand. But I'm conscious about that I'm creating another is a kind of a metaphor making device also. Every time so I'm not, of course, the person who has been killed by the armed forces anywhere. I am not representing that. But when I am slashing my fingertips and just writing the text, India, blood is on your hands, it is basically about me also. So it's metaphor that which hand. So my own hands are basically in blood. So is my own hand of India, or is my hand slashed because there is both this kind of a thing which doesn't bring me closer to the victim or to elsewhere, right? But seriously, I'm saying that the body is always there, but there cannot be any outline of a body which stops it connecting to other materials. For example, let us say you are wearing a jacket or I'm wearing a coat, but truly, can I undress right now and just expect that nobody questions me if I'm nude? So definitely I will create a reaction. So that means the cover which is protecting my body right now is basically an extension of the skin which I am wearing, right? So it's not dead thing. So it becomes part of my body because as long as it is on my body. So the moment I undress, I come to know the value of it. So the value of the garment is understood only when you think of that. Imagine that if I am nude in the street. So you can test one moment. Look, if I am nude at once, what is happening? That moment actually intensifies the understanding of garment rather than understanding of body only. Right? So it's basically what is the value? We are basically saying that okay, the garment is basically something I can throw and I can buy new. But every time we are covered by a garment. That means the garment as a material on our body is part of our living, the way we have hair, the way we have eyes and ears, the way we have body also, right? This garment also. So to undress at a particular time, we already do it, but this curishness or this idea of just you have some twisted sometimes some madness, bouts of madness that you just do it, and sometimes you think about it, but then the results are sometimes predictable or unpredictable even, but you do it. We are testing sometimes many things. Sometimes you're going overboard and doing something. That's why I'm saying the threshold people are necessarily ambiguous, to quote Deleuze again. What does that mean? That when you try to go cross the fence, there must be a dog who can attack you, there must be a security person, there can be anything, but you cross it. That's what even a thief does it. If you have been a student of Genet, what is the Genet's contribution in aesthetics? It is this that when the thief thinks of crossing the territory, knowing that there is a dangerous zone, right? That's why the famous zone of the famous quote by the Genet is that I went to theft as to the liberation, as to the light. So the question is that can we do some similar kind of intense work which actually exposes it, but then what it returns back can be outwitting. It can outwit the artist himself or herself. It's not necessary that it can be always a comfortable zone to do performance. It can actually burn your hands also. But that is the game. As I quote again Duchamp quote, that art is a game played by all the periods of all the time. So this quote is actually very, very interesting in this sense that in all the periods. So all the periods doesn't actually exclude any kind of a period.